Official.
Practice.
I'd like to call the December resident council meeting to order. Thank you. Since I've already called the meeting to order, the next item is the Pledge of Allegiance, so may we all stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Next, approval of the minutes. Are there any changes or additions to the minutes which have previously been distributed? Hearing none, they're approved as presented. And Brian has given his administrative report.
All right, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
All right, so we currently have 275 apartments occupied in the independent living with 361 residents. That is a 66% occupancy rate. December, we are anticipating 7 move-ins and 5 move-outs. So we should gain about 2 by the end of December. Currently, our skilled nursing is at 83 out of 120 total beds. We have 55 in our assisted living out of 76 units and 41 occupied units out of 48 in memory care. So a couple of, actually one follow-up item, our fountain behind Gables West that has been down and out for a long period of time. We did find a company that actually has what they said is a direct replacement, so it should be the same spray pattern and fountain flow. We were supposed to have delivery late last week, which was delayed slightly, and we are anticipating that it will come this week. So we're hopeful to get that up and running and installed this week, hopefully before Christmas. The positivity rate for COVID-19 in Charlotte County, just to give you all an update, currently is sitting at 9.3%. It has kind of climbed steadily since about the October timeframe, where it was roughly 3%, and has kind of leveled off at about 9 to 9.5% is what we've seen over the last about 3 or 4 weeks. We currently have just 1 confirmed positive AL resident at this point and 1 confirmed positive staff member. So we're actually doing very well on our campus considering the number of cases that are, out there in the state and the county. We are continuing to test all of our staff on a bi-weekly basis. So every 2 weeks, all staff are tested. And then every week, our skilled nursing staff is tested. If the positivity rate in Charlotte County goes over 10% per the CMS calculation, then we will have to test 2 times a week in our skilled nursing. So that's just the standard. If our county rate is over 5%, we have to test weekly. If it's over 10%, it's twice a week. So that's all contingent based on the county data, Charlotte County data. We're currently holding in our phase 2 of our reopening plan at this point in time. With Christmas and New Year's upon us, I just kind of wanted to remind everybody of some of the standards. I will say that the CDC, if you read what is posted on the CDC's website, their recommendation is to just stay home, avoid travel, and avoid gatherings with people that you don't live with. Now, I know not everybody is going to comply with those standards as much as, that's kind of the standard that is set forth. But if for whatever reason somebody is traveling or going to meet with people, we will be sending out a memo with kind of the standards of if you do this, you might have to quarantine. So we just want to make sure that people understand the process and then the consequences if you go, and meet with larger groups of people. Because there is increased risk once you are outside of Southport Square and meeting with, other people, especially children. There's just a lot of risk inherent with that. So please, just a reminder to be safe, stay safe this holiday. The other piece, a vaccine update. So there's been a lot of talk about the vaccine out there. The state of Florida has begun the rollout of the vaccine, and currently they are working with the Pfizer vaccine. However, Moderna was approved last week, and so it just went into distribution on Monday this week. So there has been some increased flow of the vaccine into the actual cycle of getting the vaccine distributed. At this point, the state of Florida, who controls who gets the vaccine, the state of Florida has given the okay for skilled nursing facilities, so long-term care facilities, to be able to actually receive the vaccine. So what that means for us is that we have been given a date of January 5th, and CVS will be the ones administering the vaccine here on our campus when it does get rolled out to every level of care. CVS is the company that will be here to administer the vaccines for us. So skilled nursing's, the first date will be January 5th, and then January 26th, they will come back for the second dose for our skilled nursing residents and staff. We have not gotten any other instruction from the state of Florida about the assisted living, memory care, or independent living residents and staff at this point, but as that information does come to us, we will share that with you all. The best estimate that I have heard from an outside organization is that maybe in the March timeframe, we will have vaccine doses available for independent living residents, but the state has not confirmed that date, okay? So that's just the best estimate that I have at this point. EverSafe 360, I just wanted to share with y'all. I think I've mentioned that on Around the Square a few times and in a few memos. That is a new program or initiative that LCS has rolled out to increase safety and some standards for their residents and their communities across the nation. A couple of the topics or areas that they are looking at currently include a telehealth portal, as well as resident health and mental well-being, and then also some air quality measures. So as they progress with this new initiative, EverSafe 360, which you'll hear that phrase through LCS, as they continue with this, they'll start to roll out some standards for communities to be able to take those standards and see if they want to implement them for our community. The other thing I just wanted to share, I believe some of you have already heard this, LCS was rated again the #1 in customer satisfaction for independent senior living communities by J.D. Power and Associates. That is the second year in a row that they have been awarded that recognition. So great job by LCS. We are looking at anticipating a resident survey specifically for Southport Square in 2021. So it has been a couple of years since we've had that for just general satisfaction, and we are looking to have that survey rolled out in 2021 for all residents here at Southport Square. Recruitment still remains a primary focus for our community here in many areas, a lot of the departments. We are still working through that. One of the things that, if you've been watching the news, the Congress actually just approved another stimulus package. So we're waiting on all the details and specific, but that does extend some unemployment benefits again, which does, pose a little bit of a challenge for us in the recruitment side of things. But we're very hopeful. We have seen a little bit of an uptick in our recruitment capabilities and being able to, hire folks in. So our orientation classes have been a little bit larger lately, which has been a good thing as we get folks coming on board with us. And then last couple of things, our ice cream parlor renovations. We did have a few minor delays just in trying to get construction crews tackling apartment builds as well as the ice cream parlor renovations, but we do have some of the fixtures being put in place and some of the furniture being put in, so we're very excited and hopeful to get that ice cream parlor back up and running and open again as quickly as possible. And then the courts out back, if you've seen the progress, there's been multiple dump trucks on campus over the last couple of weeks. They've been leveling out the courts, so at this point, they have leveled most of the courts, and then they're getting ready to pour the asphalt. One of the things, the challenge obviously being outdoors, the rain can wreak havoc on the courts, which we did have a rain earlier this week, which did cause some delays as far as being able to get that completely leveled and the asphalt laid. But very hopeful that we'll get that asphalt laid soon, and then it'll be roughly about 30 to 45 days after that that they will come back to finish the courts. And last thing I just want to say is Merry Christmas to everybody. I hope you have great holidays and a Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you, same to you. Okay, any added agenda items, note that they are need to be submitted in writing. If you're going to present something as a motion, need to get it in writing.
We didn't hear you.
Okay. I failed to welcome Maureen Peters, who is here to be a parliamentarian. Thank you. And introduce Beverly Winslow, who will be coming on council next year. Welcome to you, Beverly. Now, for representatives.
Would you take your mask down, please? Would you leave your mask down? It's very difficult to hear you.
Okay.
Thank you.
What didn't you hear?
They don't know. They don't know.
Sorry. We did the pledge, so the roll call's next.
Okay.
Marilyn Hill, please.
All right. Gables East, first and second floor, Peggy Harris.
Here?
Gables East, third floor, Rosemarie Delcart.
Here.
Gables East 4, John Baradix.
Here.
Gables East 5, Phyllis Schwartz.
Here.
Gables West 1, Bob Case.
Here.
I'm here to represent both Gables West 2 and Gables West 4. Judith Lackland from Gables West 3.
Here.
And Gables West 5, Ron Sharpless.
I'm here.
You have a full quorum.
Thank you very much. And before I forget it, I'd like to thank you for your service on the council this year, Marilyn, and the best to you.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your help. No excuses, but my dry eye situation makes it hard for me to actually fully see what I'm looking at.
Welcome to my world.
It's a dry eye, so I jumped around already, and I'm sorry for that. No added agenda items. We've had Brian's report, so now we're ready for floor representatives' reports and response from management and council. And as noted on the agenda, report only resident concerns. However, if you're not planning on adhering to the agenda, I'm not asking you to ask permission to modify what's on the agenda, because I put out an agenda that's a bit new, and that for the first time I'm going to show some kindness, and if you wish to read your whole report, so do. I won't call you out of order. Okay, just a second here, I get the numbers here. Gables East, Peggy Harris, 1 and 2.
Gables East, first and second floors met Monday, December 7th in the fourth floor game room at 1:30 p.m. There were 10 people in attendance. Not a concern of the resident, but a point of interest. We've decided, because the staff is stretched with COVID and staffing issues, that we would have speakers on alternating months.
Excuse me, Peggy, could you speak a little louder? I'm having trouble hearing you.
We've decided that speakers, we will have speakers only every other month due to COVID and staffing issues. Committee reports are written. The only concern were things that are dealt with in the written report, so that will be the extent.
Thank you. Third floor, Gables East, Rosemary Clark, please.
Our meeting was called to order at 1:30 PM on December 10th, with 13 residents in attendance. In lieu of our usual Christmas dinner, we had a get acquainted session where each person told a little about their past. It was great to get better acquainted with all the residents. Our next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, January 14th at 1:30 PM in the fourth floor game room. The meeting adjourned at 2:35 PM.
Thank you. Fourth floor, Gables East, John Durant, please.
The fourth floor Gables East meeting was a decorating party, and it was a successful party because we won the decorating party what we're going to have, so thank you.
Thank you. Gables East, fifth floor, Phyllis Swartz, please.
Fifth floor met on December the 9th. There were 19 residents in attendance. Our speakers were Randy Barnett, Director of Plant Operations, who introduced Chuck Henderson, Southport Square's new Manager of Plant Operations. Both shared what they do, and they agreed that if a resident is unhappy about how a maintenance request was handled or poorly cleaned up afterwards, they want to be told. They will also be resuming the placing of cards in our units when work is done and the resident was not present. Special concerns of the group: one, the majority of attendees want an updated list describing exactly what housekeepers should be doing routinely. The list that most of us have as a reference is apparently not accurate any longer. Two, some residents would like a clarification as to what can and cannot be on entry doors as it pertains to fire safety. And three, dining services needs to share with us what food/beverage items we are currently getting are going to be discontinued and when.
Thank you. Gables West, first floor, Bob Case. Gables West, first floor. At for the December 2020 meeting on Tuesday, December 1, in the Gables West fourth floor game room, beginning at 10 and ending at 10:50. We did not have a speaker. All were welcomed by the floor representative. There were 8 residents present. I'd just like to make one announcement relative to that meeting, and that is, I'm happy to report that Nancy and I celebrated our 59th wedding anniversary on December 17th. And did we celebrate?
COVID celebration.
And concerns, the amount of paint touch-ups that are needed and need to be addressed more frequently. In addition, it wouldn't hurt if more caution was exercised when items are moved in and out of apartments. We will meet again on the 5th of January. Respectfully submitted, Bob Case, first floor scribe, I've put. Moving on. Second floor, Maryland Hill, please.
10 residents met at the second floor residents meeting December 11th. All wore masks and followed social distancing guidelines. The meeting opened with an announcement of the new residents' expected arrival during the week. Council minutes were briefly reviewed from last month. A report from the Activities Committee was given by Wanda Bell, but no reports were available from dining, housekeeping, or fire and safety. This group has not come up with a nominee for floor representative for next year, but other committee slots have been filled. Wanda Bell helped everyone get into a holiday mood by providing Christmas cookies, decorations for our Christmas trees, and helped us recall some Christmas memories from long ago. Would you like me to do the fourth floor next?
Please.
Okay. The residents from the fourth floor, Gables West, met on Wednesday, December 4th. All wore masks and practiced social distancing. The meeting opened noting birthdays during the month and then focused on a review of the last council meeting, which had been held on November 24th. Members were reminded that tax-deductible gifts could still be made during the month to our Southport Square Scholarship Fund. Committee reports followed with Laverne Graham telling us about the 12 Days of Christmas program as part of activities, and Rose Beach for dining, and Bev Winslow for housekeeping. We regretted that we could not repeat our festive Christmas dinner from last year. Instead, we held a, quote, early Christmas celebration, unquote, with a few word games and shared homemade Christmas cookies. We gave best wishes to our new officers for 2021, and our next meeting is planned for Wednesday, January 6th. We do have one concern, and that is the storage room on DeSoto 215 is filthy.
8 residents who were at our November meeting decided not to have a December meeting, and we will have one in January instead.
Thank you. Fifth floor, Ron Charles, please.
Our meeting also in the fourth floor game room, beginning at 10 a.m. on December 9. 17 residents attended and COVID-19 rules were observed. We went over the November council minutes and noted the decrease in independent living occupancy. On the fifth floor, presently, there are 37 occupied units out of 45, with a total of 49 individuals. Due to the pandemic, the Christmas luncheon was not held. Committee reports followed. Most noteworthy was the very, very large turnout at the first menu chat, which was the first one held since last March. I might add as a side on to that we also attended the one this past Friday. There were 3 residents there and 5 or 6 from the staff, but it was a very good, informative meeting. Okay. And my understanding is that dinners will be restarting quite soon. Okay. By the way, and the head chef, he heard an awful lot of comments at that meeting. We understand that fire and safety are now meeting, there's no report. And there was some continued confusion over housekeeping. I also might, on a side note, that there was a good memo from Sheila explaining what was going to happen this week, Christmas week, so that was very helpful. Lastly, after this report was written, we learned that Judy McLaughlin had passed away, and our deepest condolences to her husband, Curry. The 2 trash containers in the trash room were still filled to overflowing by Sunday afternoon. That needs to be corrected. And also, a resident after the meeting took me into the D-wing storage room. There are dead cockroaches on the floor and droppings on the floor and wall behind the door. So it definitely needs to be cleaned up. And Christmas lights will be put up by SPS personnel this year, and the residents are looking forward to the results. Next meeting will be on the 13th. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
Response from management to these reports.
Sure. So a couple of notes, some probably more follow-up items, because I don't have all the answers here, and without all my directors in these meetings anymore, it's a little bit more challenging for me to answer everything, but I'm going to give it a whirl. So Phyllis, I owe you a listing of housekeeping items that will be performed. Sheila and I have talked about this. We'll make sure that we get that rolled out, and I can share that with all of the floor leaders if y'all would like, so that you can have that. What can and cannot be placed on doors, we can pull that together and put that back out in some communication. So I will work with Randy on that. That is fire code type issues that we have to comply with, as well as some standards for the look of our buildings. But I will make sure that we get that back out to everybody as well, and we'll send that out via communication to all residents. And then food, just a question, Phyllis, on that. The question, I believe, was what items would be discontinued and when. Is that in reference to some of like the special things
We
we've
were getting
provided?
things like fresh fruit on Wednesday, supposedly that's not coming. We were getting cookies certain days, and apparently that's not coming.
Okay.
And there was one other thing. Oh, there's rumor that the wine cart is going to be discontinued as well, and that's a real concern. So we need to, that was the impetus for the question.
So, thank you, and I will definitely get that pulled together. So, you know, what has occurred is obviously when we went into COVID, we did a lot of added nice special things. As we start to come out of COVID, we want to still make sure that we have those items available. So things like the wine cart, that was added because we obviously weren't opening our bars. When our bars reopen, then some of that will go away, okay? So that's the goal.
Until the bars.
Correct,
Okay.
correct. So we'll always have that, beer and wine will be flowing. So we will make sure that we continue to have that. But we'll get the listing. I know there's some other things, you know, as we roll out of our phases and back into the normal dining scenario, some of those other special things will go away. But I will tell you that things like fresh fruit, those are some things that we've really had some positive feedback on, and we want to make sure we are able to continue some of that stuff. So we'll definitely work through some of those things that we found have been very beneficial as we've tried these things during COVID, and make sure that we can continue some of those standards as well.
Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome. And Bob, the touch-up paint, so Randy and I have been talking about that. He's actually just hired another person, and he has one more person to fill, but we are starting to work. The person he just hired is actually going to be working on a lot of the touch-up painting across the campus. So we're putting a plan in place to make sure that we can keep up with that, because that is a challenge. And, you know, the movers always pose significant difficulties for us when movers come in and out, and then just the normal, you know, wear and tear on the buildings. But definitely some things we got to stay on top of. And Ron, I think I will definitely address those trash containers. I know we are trying to see if we could navigate through that with some modifications, but we'll address those on the weekends. It sounds like that's still getting filled up over the weekends, and how we can make that a little bit better. And then the storage rooms, Sheila and I have talked about those after Meryl and I discussed, and we are coming up with a game plan to get into all of those storage rooms. It's actually, what I found is that the cleaning side of it is one thing, but the other piece is that, you know, a lot of those apartments were just apartments that were vacant or vacated without things like, some of them don't even have toilets in the bathrooms and things like that. So we have some things that we need to work on in some of those storage areas that we'll be working through to make those a little bit more presentable.
Otherwise, I'm going to take a broom.
All right.
Just so you know.
We'll get it cleaned up. I appreciate that.
Well, you could have the, I don't know, one of the people from the housekeeping staff just double check, you know.
Yeah, that's what we will have to be doing, is just as they go through the room, you know, cleans on those apartment or on those floors, they'll have to actually go into the storage rooms as well and just make sure they're staying clean.
Thank you, Brian. Any additional comments from council? If not, moving on to standing committee reports with a response from management and council. Activities, John Dorodics, no report. Dining, he didn't say anything, so he didn't want the agenda changed, so.
So nothing's happening, John?
Just reviewed in December, you know. Can't really plan a whole lot. You don't understand.
He's respecting my prerogative, and I thank him for that. Dining, Judith Lackland, please.
Okay, I have a fairly long report, so I'm going to leave the whole report for the minutes and then just give you the highlights. The old business was given by Brenda and Chef Matthew. The
Would you speak up, Jim, if I can hear you?
Oh, my goodness. That's the first time I've gotten that complaint.
Not your husband.
Okay, so I'll start over. Food Committee minutes. All the floors in Gables East and West were represented, and Brenda Davila and Chef Matthew presided. With old business, they stated that menu chats have started with only 20 residents at a time allowed, and they're going to try to rotate the residents who attend so that everybody gets a chance. They reminded us that the independent living menus are developed to provide a positive dining experience, and special diets cannot be accommodated. It's up to each individual to be informed of whatever special diet they are on, and it's their responsibility to adhere to their diet. But at the present time, it is impossible for dining services in independent living to provide special diets. Let's see here. Representatives were requested to inform all the residents, call the dining room. Do not call Brenda for any issues because she is usually not in her office. Extensions, if you're in Gables West, you call extension 514 or 518. If you're in Gables East, it's extension 614 or 617. If the phone isn't answered immediately, leave a message. I know at least in Gables West that Gina, our dining room manager, is there until 6:30 in the evening, but she may not be right there in the dining room. So just leave a message and she will get back. For new business, the new name for the ice cream parlor will be The Bistro. This is per resident request. An important thing that I think people should be aware of is that Brenda and Chef informed us that there is approximately a 20% deficit in the availability of some food items due to business shutdowns related to the pandemic. And this is primarily in the Midwest, where a lot of the meat comes from, but also a certain amount of produce that comes from California. Our dining services will naturally then be affected by national shortages, particularly the to-go items such as paper, plastic, etc., because that comes from China and nothing from China is getting in. The chef reported that he has found a new purveyor for meats, cheese, etc., and can provide those items for us better than Cisco can. Apparently, and I guess obviously, because Cisco supplies the entire country, when they buy, they have to buy in huge quantities, and huge quantities are not necessarily available. The company that Chef has found is up in Jacksonville. They're a smaller company so that they can buy in smaller amounts and therefore will readily provide us with the items that we would like. Let's see. I will leave this to Peggy if she chooses to say, but she reported on her meeting with Publix and the recycling. This is apparently something that is addressed very frequently, and the idea is that recyclables, which is to say styrofoam, can be taken over to Publix and they will recycle it, but you have to get it there. They aren't going to come pick it up, and Southport Square is not going to deliver it. So it's up to the individuals to work out how they're going to get it there. The recyclable styrofoam can be identified because it is stamped with a diamond pattern with a 6 inside it. If the styrofoam doesn't have that symbol, then it's not recyclable, so don't bother taking it to Publix. Black plastic food recyclables are to be put in the bins on each floor so that they can be taken back to the kitchen, sanitized and reused. We were reminded that reservations need to be made for Christmas and New Year's. Evening meals will begin on December 28th. Reservations will be required. And you're supposed to make the reservations with the dining room manager. Do not call Brenda. The same rules for spacing that currently are in place for the daytime meals will be required still. Let's see. Comments from the representatives were generally positive regarding the food quality. However, there are still some issues with delivered items such as spillage, portion control. Some of the people were getting only 4 ounces of soup instead of 8 ounces, etc., and those will be addressed in the future. And the January menu chat will be December 30th in the respective game rooms, and people need to sign up.
What was that date? Excuse me.
December 30th. Okay, so, as I said, the full report will be in our minutes that I will give on the written report. But these are the highlights.
Thank you. Environment, housekeeping, Phyllis Schwartz, please.
Environmental housekeeping meeting was held on December the 4th. The department is still short-staffed by 12 to 14 individuals. Southport Square has bumped up wages in an attempt to attract housekeepers currently working elsewhere. Southport Square may outsource some cleaning services such as carpets, common areas, and so forth, but not residence units. Management want residents' feedback relating to the consistency or inconsistency of cleaning by different housekeepers. Then, if necessary, retraining can be done to raise the overall standard of cleaning. Some of the housekeeping services are done periodically rather than weekly. Committee members suggested that residents would like to know which periodic jobs will be done and when. And committee members were reminded that carpet cleaning will not resume until we are well into phase 3. Again, attendees were asked to tell their floor residents that they need to contact the lobby desk and ask the person there to radio Sheila with any problems. If they must leave a message for Sheila, her extension is 626.
Thank you very much. Environment, fire safety, Rosemary. Excuse me. Environment, fire safety, Rosemary.
I did not receive a report from, and I tried to call Randy this morning, and he was not available.
All right, thank you. Finance Committee, Ron Sharpless, please.
This is the operations report for the month of November, and the meeting was held in the Arts and Craft Room on the 18th. And present was Vicki Barone and Brian Hess of Management and myself from the Finance Committee. As in previous months, operating revenues continue to be well under budget due to low occupancy rates. The downward trend could be bottoming out and hopefully start going up in January. Total wages were over budget as it was necessary to hire contract nursing in the assisted living and memory care areas. Controllable expenses were also over budget, with information technology, recruiting costs, and maintenance being the main drivers. Operating margins were down from last month, 6.8% versus 9.2%. Respectfully submitted, Ron Sharpless.
Thank you, Ron. Special committee reports. Employee Appreciation Fund, Henry Lackman, you have his report. Thank you.
Would you like me to read it?
Yes, you may, thank you.
Southport Square's Resident Employee Appreciation Program, December 2020 report to the Southport Square's Resident Council. The Employee Appreciation Program, by means of this year's Southport Square residents' contribution allowed the Southport Square Employee Appreciation Fund to distribute 357 checks to eligible hourly paid associates totaling $111,110 in mid-December 2020. The Employee Appreciation Program wishes to promote the program in 2021 by attending floor meetings to answer questions and explain the program intent. I ask council members and floor leaders to please schedule times, dates, and locations with me. The continued success of this program is entirely up to the council's communication with residents. Sincerely, Henry Lackland.
Thank you very much.
Could I make a comment on that also, please?
Yes.
So I just wanted to say, on behalf of the associates of Southport Square, they were all so appreciative of the efforts that went in, and even more so with COVID at this point in time, because we know and understand that it has been a very unique and challenging year for many, but they were very appreciative, and I want to make sure that each of you gets the opportunity to see the cards that the associates completed. So, I am not inclusive of that rollout, so our associates, when they do receive their checks, they do get the opportunity to sign a card for the residents. So we have 3 very large cards that are completely covered with signatures and warm wishes and thank you and thoughts from our associates. So I hope that you get the opportunity to see those. Those will be posted in the lobbies of each of the buildings. So please go down. Our staff have been so appreciative of that, the generosity this year from you all as residents. So thank you very much. We appreciate that.
Thank you, Brian. FLICRA, do you have any report? You have a report?
You have that report as well. Would you like me to read it?
Yes, please.
Okay. The FLICRA report. The print copies of the fourth quarter resident connections have not yet arrived on our campus. When they do, we'll distribute them to the in-house mailboxes ASAP. If you can't wait, however, a digital copy is on the FLICRA website at www.flycra.com. If you have not yet visited the site, I recommend that you do so. It's loaded with scores of links ranging from lists of Florida CCRC locations, Florida and federal legislators, their names, addresses, and phone numbers, the U.S. Living Will Registry, a guide on handling cough and colds in the elderly, and of course, back issues of Resident Connections. Wishing you all a very happy and healthy holiday season. Bill Deacon from the SPS Board.
Thank you very much. Scholarship Fund, you have Norton's report?
I do not.
You do not have Norton's report?
I do not have Norm's report.
I have Norton's report. Would you like me to read Norton's report or include it in the, you would like to? I said I had it. I didn't think I was going to have to produce it, but,
Bob, would you like me to read it if your eyes are posing difficulties?
Oh, wait, I do have it. Is the one dated November 24th?
It's dated December 22nd.
Oh, then that's not it. Mine's from last month.
I'll give it a try. Thanks, Brian, for helping me.
You're welcome.
As this is a report from the chairperson, president of the Scholarship Fund, Norm Uhl, and he says, at our December 1st meeting, we filled vacant positions on our board and elected officers for 2021. The results were Norm Uhl, president, Charlie Brox, vice president, Jeannie Hoban-Pender, treasurer, Nancy Case, secretary. Others on the committee are Bob Mattingly, Karen McCarty, Bob Wyda, Peggy Harris as assistant treasurer, and Art Savigny as assistant secretary. Norm thanked the board for their support in 2020. As a team, the board was able to accomplish the following this past year. Number 1, developed a mission statement and a board with a strong commitment to it. awarded 7 scholarships of $1,000 each, collected approximately $24,000 from 76 contributions, established an electronic file of all contributors to include amount contributed, contributor, and copies of contribution, thank you letter, and deposit slip. Developed a 7-page set of procedures to guide the functioning of the board, established a subcommittee to identify different ways of raising money to support the scholarship fund, completed a successful financial audit review by an accountant not associated with the board of directors. The board thanks all SPS residents for their support this past year. Respectfully submitted, Norm Houle. Thank you very much for that. Landscaping, Judith Lackland.
Okay, am I loud? Okay. We had a short landscape committee meeting on, I think it was the 9th. Randy updated us on the progress on the tennis courts, pickleball courts. He updated us about new staffing additions, most of the people who are going to be in training for a while. Mulch was to be put down. In the garden area, a couple of trees were going to be removed, and a tree that fell across the roadway subsequent to the storm was removed from the road. And the next meeting will be on the first Wednesday of next month. And I will write up my report for Dawn.
Thank you, Judith. These committee reports will be attached to the minutes of this council meeting. Health News, Gables East, Rosemary Dahlcourt.
Gables East has 2 residents in the hospital, 6 residents in Harbor Health, skilled nursing and rehab, 10 residents in assisted living, 11 residents in the gardens, memory care, and sadly, we have had 5 deaths this past month.
Thank you. Gables West, Marty Donovan. She's given me her report, which consists of, as of the 20th of December, no one is in the hospital. There are 6 in skilled nursing, 25 in assisted living, 9 in memory care, and sadly, she has a death to report. I thank her for this report, which will be attached to the minutes. Under old business, I have stated that specific charges for extras from the menu will be included in the dining report. They're in there?
No, we asked Brenda if we could have them, and she said that she would talk to Brian, and it would be provided to the members of the dining committee, so we're waiting.
Okay, now hold on to that. Report of the nominating committee, which you have in what was distributed to you, agenda, etc. Refer you to that. And the new business item, a further review on my part of the bylaws indicates that this can only be presented, it can't be voted on at this meeting. So I'd like the record to indicate that this is the first showing of this suggested change.
Could you repeat that auditorium?
I'm sorry. In a further review of the bylaws, the item under new business to reduce the number of meetings to occur quarterly and how it's accomplished cannot be voted on unless it's presented a month prior. So this will be presented as a potential item to be voted on next meeting. Yes.
There was something given to us in writing about the idea of reducing the number of meetings next year. And he's saying that even if he presents it this time, that you won't be voting on it because things like that have to have 2 meetings before they can be voted on. You have to present it at one meeting and then a second meeting, and then it can be voted on. So that this next year's council would vote on that in January, if anything he presents like that. Am I correct?
Excuse me.
Did I translate right?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
So I would like the record to show that that item under new business is first reading. That's the way I'd like it reported, the first reading of that.
And are we to have a discussion about it, or what?
Not at this time, no.
Well, after the motion is made.
No, there's no motion to it.
Next month.
Yeah, next month.
Yes,
No discussion this month.
that's right,
But you
next
can
month.
make a motion this month, you can make the motion this time.
this month.
You can,
Open
you know,
for
you can
discussion.
present it this
Vote
month as a
next month.
motion, but you can't vote on it yet.
Parliamentary.
Let me read the bylaws. Under amendments of bylaws, any resident may submit to the council a proposed amendment to these bylaws that must be in writing with a justification for proposing the request for council action with 2 consecutive meetings from the time of receipt. That to me, first part, proposed revisions, excuse me. These bylaws may be amended, repealed, or rescinded by 2/3 affirmative vote of council members. Proposed revisions shall be presented to all council members 1 month prior to the meeting at which the vote is to be taken. That means the vote can't be taken today. So I want it noted as an item for the record, as an item, the first reading. Okay with that? Well, I see shrugging of the shoulders, but I've quoted the bylaws.
But again, I mean, you saying we have no discussion or anything, talk about this? I mean,
No, next month.
Is that right, parliamentarian?
Huh?
This asked our parliamentarian.
Yeah.
I think we need it as a motion, and then if it dies without a second, you won't go any farther at all. But if you get a second, then you can discuss it, but you can't actually vote on it till the second time it's put forth. Am I right?
You can either follow the bylaws, or if you don't wish to, we won't follow the bylaws. I read them specifically, they're clear in my mind, and that's all I'm going to say. Go ahead, Maureen.
It's my understanding, and I hadn't researched this before the meeting because I didn't realize it was going to come up, that in my past experience, when a motion is presented to amend the bylaws on a first reading, it can still be discussed, but it doesn't come up for vote until the following meeting. But I'm not aware of your interpretation of it, but I haven't double-checked it.
Well, I don't consider it my interpretation. I consider that the bylaws is very specific about that. If you want to go ahead, that's all right with me, but I will want the record noted that there was a failure to follow bylaws on this particular item. Are you good with that? If not, then we'll move on.
I would just say that there's nothing in your bylaws that prohibits discussion at this meeting of the proposal. There's nothing that says you cannot discuss it, you just can't vote on it until next month.
All right, then, So we'll need a motion to discuss. And a second.
Nancy, you don't need a motion for that. You need a motion, your motion is good enough by itself. Then you say any discussion. You put the motion that you printed here, you know, I move to reduce the number of meetings to occur quarterly. You say it just like you said it in the minute, in the agenda. But you place the motion on the floor.
All right, who would like to say something relative to this? John?
I guess I'm not opposed to discussing it this month, but it's my feeling that we should not have any discussion until next month when the new folks that are going to be on resident council are here. They're the ones that have to vote on it. They should be the ones that have the discussion.
I agree.
So I think we should postpone discussion till next month.
Yeah, I agree with John. It seems silly that the new council is, most of whom are going to be the old council, let's face it.
Excuse me, Judith,
What?
raise your hand to be called on. Don't
Oh,
just-
sorry.
Go ahead.
All right. But I agree with John. As long as we are going to have some new council members, they should be involved in voting on it and in the discussion. So there's no harm in it being postponed until next meeting.
Anyone else? My comment for the record needs to be retracted. I was in error. Do you hear me, Don? My comment I made about, I wanted for the record that the bylaws weren't followed. Please delete that at my request. Thank you. Anybody else have a comment on that? Our next meeting is Tuesday, January 26, 2021, at 10 a.m. in Town Hall. I'm not going to ask for a motion to adjourn until I have an opportunity to say a few things. Number one, I'd like to thank the council for the opportunity I've had to be a presiding officer for this past year. And I certainly wish everyone happy holidays, and together we will usher out year 2020.
Make a motion, we adjourn?
I believe that's in order now.
Okay.
So are you so moving?
Yeah?
Is there a second? Nobody wants to adjourn? Okay. Seconded by Judith. And all those in favor, raise a hand. Opposed, no, and the meeting is adjourned, and thank you very much. And there'll be a short break, and then we'll convene for the election of officers.